Well, let's expand the conversation on Kenya and Somalia further. Joining me in the studio is Dr. Robert Kagiri. He's a policy director at the Africa Policy Institute. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And also joining me is Hassan Sheikh Ali Nur. He's a security analyst. He's joining me live from Mogadishu. And let's start with you, Hassan. Do we have a new date for the elections in Somalia yet? And if not, why?
Actually, good evening to everybody. And then if I try to answer your question, still we don't have that question to answer. However, we're expecting somewhere in the end of this month on January, because tomorrow and after tomorrow, the parliament having a session to elect the parliamentary speaker, and after tomorrow, the deputy speakers. And after that, the new administration or the new regime of the government, the parliament, will set up the commissioner of national president election, and that they provide the platform to the candidate, and the candidate will deliver the speech to the parliament, roughly maybe the 5 to 7 days, and then after that maybe you have another 2-3 days, and then later on we will have the presidential election, and then we have to have maybe around in between 20 to 30 of January.
Well, thank you for that, Hassan. We'll continue with that. But in the meantime, let's find out a little bit more about Kenya. Dr. Kagiri, here in Kenya, do you expect to see the polls play out more like the 2013 ones, or the disputed 2007 ones, which of course ended in a fatal outcome? What do you expect for Kenya?
Thank you very much for having me. This election was likely to be less contended than the last one, mainly because of devolution. Devolution has removed the issue of winner take it all, which has always been a prevalent feature of virtually every election we've had. Now that we have devolved resources down to the 47 counties, there's more at stake at the county level, that people do not entirely look into the central government, or what we call the national government now, for distribution of resources. So you find that the political class level and at the level of the common mwananchi, there's been a big, the devolution has been embraced very deeply. And people do not feel that they'll be disenfranchised once in the instance where they lose elections.
Right.
So because of devolution, we are likely to see people more content with the general election and less animosity towards each other. Because once you devolve resources, functions, the resources that follow them follow the functions. And we have seen a great distribution of resources, even beyond the minimum 15% that is guaranteed under the Constitution of Kenya 2010, being distributed to the 47 counties. So people are looking more towards the county governments to deliver services than the national government at the grassroots level. So
and I mean,
that's disenchantment.
I want to take that further. Some argue here that devolution has actually tempered the perceived scramble for resources that used to make Kenya's elections such a high-stakes affair. Do you share this view as well?
Well, I can't say it has tempered the scramble for resources. What it has done is decentralized the scramble for resources. In the previous periods, since independence, resources were centered in Nairobi.
Right.
Now that they've been distributed 47 ways, when you put aside the national government, the scramble has now moved to 47 different centers. So indeed, the scramble at the national level may have reduced, but it is still there. The flip side of this is that areas, especially the marginalized areas that had been forgotten or neglected, now have a chance to get a little piece or a little slice of the national cake, unlike previous instances where sometimes they were completely forgotten. So while people are still scrambling for resources, the good thing is that the resources have been distributed, and the county governments have managed to entrench devolution in terms of systems and in terms of resource distribution to the counties.
Well, I'd actually like to go back to Hassan in Somalia and find out who are the likely candidates to be the next president of Somalia, and certainly what are the main policy goals we'll see come out?
Actually, so far we don't know who will be the next Somalia's president, because we have over the 20 men as the candidate. However, the Somali people expecting to someone who can maintain the political agreement and to have some form of capacity to bring together the pieces or the regional states and try to harmonize the various groups and the faction leaders. As well, the coming president must be someone who has a public support beside although the parliament is they're going to elect. However, at the same time, the coming president need to have a public support, particularly the regions outside the Mogadishu. Therefore, we expecting someone who has the capacity and capability to bring together to Somali people and to try to solve out the previous political disagreements from among the regions, the clans, the political class, the various groups, or the interstate, rather the interstate the conflict, rather than interstate conflict, and try to compromise the different opinion and different approaches of nation building, because Somalia just is a fragile state, and basically the Somalis are now the Somali leadership is requiring to have someone who has a political maturity to able to bring it together and to harmonize and to to solve out for the last 25 years Somalia were in conflict and in fight, and it's not easy to say that particular will be the president to solve out the previous political disagreements from among the regions, the clans, the political class, the various groups, or the interstate, rather the interstate the conflict, rather than interstate conflict, and try to compromise the different opinion and different approaches of nation building, because Somalia just is a fragile state, and basically the Somalis are now the Somali leadership is requiring to have someone who has a political maturity to able to bring it together and to harmonize and to to solve out for the last 25 years Somalia were in conflict and in fight, and it's not easy to say that particular will be the president of Somalia, because the case is very huge, the demand, the requirement is very huge, the task force is very huge, and just we are praying to have the best one to Somali people.
Hassan, I mean, related to that, despite not being a direct vote, are the presidential elections in Somalia, in one sense, an assessment on the performance of the government of Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud?
Actually, the current regime or the current the incumbent the president Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, he did a good job, and then of course because of his effort to bring it together to regional states and then to narrow the gap between the conflicting groups, he did good job, and then we can give him for credit to achieve the current election process, and we are expecting to finish that the current or the ongoing process into the better future to Somali people, or the good outcome of the current political process, and then we appreciate the current government's political performance.
Well, I'd just like to go back to you, Dr. Kagere. You heard there, you said peace, economy, those are some of the main issues in Somalia. What are likely to be the main issues at play in this Kenyan election? Is it going to be corruption, the economy? Give us some insight into what you think will come to the fore.
I think this is a two-pronged question, because there's a negative and a positive part of it. When it comes to what positive things the government will be judged on, it will have to do with their development record, it will have to do with improved livelihoods, and the perception of inclusiveness. Devolution will not be a major aspect because both sides of the political divide have more or less embraced devolution as a preferable way to govern Kenya in terms of distribution of resources and carrying the whole country together as one. So in terms of performance, the current government has made great strides, both by attracting great foreign direct investment and also developing the country and delivering on some of their promises that they had made. There's SGR project, the Vision 2030 projects, including the laptop, the SGR, have been implemented. What remains to be seen is how they argue out their case in terms of whether this development has been symmetric, especially to the most downtrodden in Kenya, and whether it has been inclusive enough and embraced all Kenyans.
Right.
So that is on the positive side of it. In terms of graft and non-delivery of services, I expect that this will play out more at the county level elections, where we are talking about governors and MCAs, members of the county assembly, and to some extent the members of parliament, who have been seen to be sort of enjoying more largesse than they should be enjoying.
Right.
But and Kenyans have historically been ruthless in throwing out incumbents at those levels. And in this instance, the county level will play out. When it comes to the presidential election, the formations are slightly more different. And what plays out more here is a little bit of what you might call ethnic and regional formations. And the current formations, in terms of the ruling party, there might be some cracks in delivering some parts, some blocks that were delivered the last time.
Right.
And they need to attend to this. On the other side, on the opposition side, is how they can get their coalition to gel together and form a formidable force.
Right.
So those are the two areas that need to be addressed by both parties.
Well, let's find out from Hassan. There's one issue that I would like to talk about, which is, of course, the fact that there have been recurrent payment problems for the over 20,000 soldiers who make up AMISOM in 2016. Has this been decisively resolved in Somalia, or is it likely to recur in the future?
Actually, that's sad news to see the African soldiers in Somalia are not earning their payment in every month, and then we are just requiring or just going to appeal the donors and then other countries to provide the money. However, I cannot say exactly this is what will happen in the future, whether they will get the payment or that kind of react again. However, as we see that for the last 2 or 3 years, the case is not good, and then just we pray for either by the Africans or the donors or the major powers to provide and to pay the payment to the African soldiers in Somalia, because they are doing a good job, and then we appreciate the effort to sacrifice their lives.
Right.
However, we need we want to see them earning or getting their payment in every month.
Well, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Many thanks to our guests, Hassan Sheikh Ali Nur, who's a security analyst, joining us in Mogadishu, and of course, Dr. Robert Kagiri, Policy Director for the Africa Policy Institute. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.